Talking from you over in the corner.
He can come. He can join us if he wants to. If he's got something to say.
You're not mic'd up.
Oh, that's right.
Just kidding.
You're not mic'd up.
Scream. Okay. I want to hear about family weddings and if there's been any funny stories that have happened at family weddings.
Yeah.
Right? Because you come from a family of a bunch of brothers and a sister, so there's been, and some of them have had a couple. So there's been plenty of weddings.
Yeah.
Can you remember any funny stories at a wedding?
So I can remember the funniest thing that happened at my wedding.
Okay.
Or not the wedding, but the reception.
Okay.
Was my dad was kind of he was a buoyant, fun-loving guy. Mm-hmm. And somebody who knew him well said, "You should sing." And my dad wasn't a singer, but he was a performer.
Okay.
And he got up there and he cleared his throat. And my dad started singing the songs, "Around her neck, she wore a yellow ribbon." And then he went on to sing some other words. I can't remember the other words. And then it was "Far Away." And everybody in the group sang "Far away, far away, far away. Oh, she went for that ribbon who was far, far away." I'll have to look up the song.
I don't even recognize what that is.
But
it's an old sailor's ditty.
Yeah, yeah. But let's see. My mom and dad had divorced, and she would have never let him do it. My mom would have never let him do it.
Oh, sure.
Had they still been married.
Yeah.
But they weren't, and his new wife was the fun-lovingest lady you've ever seen.
Pam, the greatest.
Yeah.
Pam's the best.
And she would get him going, and she would have him doing anything and everything under the sun.
She riled him up.
She riled him up. As a matter of fact, I remember when they first got married, he was still playing softball. He was older, too.
Okay.
And she called him, cause Pam was had Indian descent, really Indian descent.
Yeah,
like
Native
documented.
American.
Yeah, documented.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I used the wrong word.
No. I'm
documented.
That was way before 23andMe too, so she didn't have to spit in the tube or anything.
And she looked it, right?
Yeah, she did. She did.
And she gave him an Indian name that she would call in front of us all the time.
Okay.
And it was Thunder Britches.
Yeah.
But also Shelly's dad walked up to me during the reception when I was kind of away from Shelly a little bit. And he walked up to me and he said, kind of pulled me to the side. And he said, "Hey, I just want to tell you something. If you ever think about hitting Shelly," he said, "go ahead and kill yourself because that's what I'm going to do." And I just started laughing because Shelly's dad, Bobby's a great man.
Yeah.
And he's a smaller guy.
Yeah.
But you could see it in his eyes how serious he was.
Yeah.
And he was protective of his little girl.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And so those are a couple of silly things that happened at mine.
For a second though, back up. I'm going to go off the. How good was Grandpa Jerry at softball?
Grandpa Jerry.
We might have talked about this before, but let's talk about Grandpa Jerry in baseball and softball real quick.
Grandpa Jerry, he got drafted twice, once out of high school, and another kid on his team got drafted, and they paid him more money, so my dad didn't sign. And then the second time
what
he was
year
in the
do you
Air
think
Force.
this would have been?
57,
I'm
1957.
starting to think maybe we've talked about this before, but what was
1957.
Okay.
And then he joined the Air Force and got married. And while he was in the Air Force, he had Curtis, his first son. Mm-hmm. And he got drafted again.
Out of the Air Force.
But he was already in the Air Force and just decided not to play. So he had a background he was a serious ball player. And by the time I saw him play, I was probably 8 or 9.
By the way, so I'm painting the picture here.
Okay.
When I knew him, Grandpa Jerry, he was shaped like the Great Bambino.
He was.
He was shaped like the Sultan of SWAT. He kind of looked like he had a little bit of a belly at that point by the time I knew him as Grandpa.
And that's
how I
always knew him too.
He was always thick built like that. Yeah. Okay.
I never knew him. He was thin when he was younger in the military.
Sure.
But ever since I've never known him, he looked like Babe Ruth. Yeah.
That's a pretty good power hitter.
Oh yeah, and he could. Yeah. And this is back before they had these bats that were hot and nobody could hit home runs back then. An aluminum bat was like a wooden bat. Had the same pop,
Yeah.
And so he was one of the only guys that could actually hit home runs in a softball stadium, and he would just smoke it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really only saw him play a few times, but every time I saw him play, he played third base.
Yeah.
And he had this habit of spitting in his glove before every pitch and rubbing it in. And when you pick up his glove, the palm of it was black and hard from so much spit.
Yeah. Because it just mixed with like the leather of the glove, basically, huh?
And I asked him one time why he did that, and he said, "This is my glove I call the vacuum cleaner, and that's how I turn it on before everything." Yeah, and I saw him make some spectacular plays where a guy would hit one down the line.
That's a level above spectacular. Some spectacular
yeah.
plays.
I saw him dive down the third base line one time and snare a
It's funny to think
grounder.
a bigger dude doing that.
He could
move.
But he also was super slow.
Okay.
And he told me when his nickname in high school was Speedy.
Okay.
And I asked him about that. Why'd they call you
So
Speedy?
he never rounded
so
first
slow?
unless he knew it was out of
Well,
there.
he said he stretched a lot of doubles into long singles. That's what, that was the term he used. Yeah. So that was my dad. My dad was a bundle of joy and happiness.
Yeah.
And so anytime he got a chance to show out or do something silly, or another time we were having this talent show at some church. And there were some guys that were dressed up like...
Because he ended up being the leader of a local chapter, basically.
Right. And they had this talent show, and all the kids would go up and do talents and singing or whatever. And a couple of guys he knew got up there, and they had on black suits and little top hats, and they were singing, "Yes, we have no bananas." And I look over at my dad, and he holds up this rotten banana. And I said, "What are you going to do?" And he threw it, and it landed right in front of him on the stage while they were singing. Yeah. So my dad was that kind of a guy. Yeah. But... I mean, my reception went so fast, Yeah. I don't know that anything too crazy happened. I know at yours, there was some pretty serious dancing by some of your brothers who...
Oh, yeah. We're a dancing family, And then at Zach and Danica's family, too, or Zach and Danica's wedding. We're a dancing family.
That's right. That was in our backyard.
Yep, because everything was pretty much shut down because that was in 2020 when everything was getting shut down.
That was during the COVID thing.
Yeah.
And I remember we were going to have it at a reception center somewhere, and they canceled on us, and we ended up having it in our backyard.
Yeah, lots of dancing.
There was and the Jetzels all got out there. Of course, not all the Jetzels can dance, not all my brothers. I guess.
And that was, I have a confession about this one, the one in the backyard. That was in the heat of the summer.
Oh, it was hot.
And so we had like we had the ceremony and everything that morning of, and pictures and stuff.
Right.
And I remember me and Carrie went home and we crashed. We fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then we were super late to their reception. I felt so bad about it.
You shouldn't feel bad because
it was
we
just
probably
all funny.
Didn't even notice because everything
we
was
just wandered
happening.
in when it happened,
But because we had to have it here, and there was, I don't know, maybe 100 people showed up.
Yeah, kind of coming in and out of the house and stuff.
So we told all the neighbors that we're going to have and we had a DJ
and everything. And
we told the neighbors, and we had many of our neighbors pulled their cars and parked them a long ways away and said, "Use our driveway." And so I ended up putting up signs in 5 or 6 driveways around here and said, "Park here."
Yeah.
And people were parking all over the neighborhood. We had great neighbors.
Yeah.
And a couple of them brought us their trash cans too, so we could put all.
That's nice of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
That's pretty slick.
I don't. The only thing I remember interesting about your reception was, well, didn't Carrie's mom try to smoke your eyes up or something like that for your should I not bring that up? Is that
no? Well, yeah. There's a story there. We'll save that one. Let me get permission to tell that one, and we'll tell them.
Sorry,
when we do our fashion episode, we'll talk about that.
Fashion
How about
episode.
That? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think.
What about any other Did you guys have family reunions growing up, where you would meet up with extended
we did,
family?
But very rarely down in Beaumont.
Okay. Can you remember one of them?
I remember one of them because
down in Beaumont, where Grandpa Jerry's from.
Yeah, and Beaumont, for those who aren't familiar, is down on the coast of Texas, right near, really kind of close to Louisiana.
Uh-huh.
And some of my family's from Port Arthur.
Beaumont. Beaumont. Yeah.
Beaumont.
Yeah, it's about as Louisiana quarters.
It is, yeah. And so we had some family
How far away
there.
is that from Galveston?
Not far at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably...
Because Galveston, by the way, Galveston is the middle-class vacation spot for Texas people.
Yeah. And by middle class, you mean Yeah. Lower middle class.
Yeah, because that's where the beach is.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's not
awesome place. It's fun.
Yeah.
I had fun when we did our family vacation there when I was little.
We did one there, didn't we?
We did do one there. Yeah.
Was the water brown as it could be?
It wasn't super clean, you know. But we went there with the Quapills, great family.
Yeah. Wow, the Quapills brings back memories too.
I know. We could probably tell some stories about them. We'll have to think about it and tell them.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so family reunion in Beaumont.
Yeah, and so we show up, and I didn't really know anybody. But man, there was some backwoods Louisiana Cajuns floating around, distant cousins of mine.
Like the guy from Waterboy?
Yeah.
On the way you make it. That guy.
and I remember there was one girl that was just really pretty.
Okay.
But she was like...
Be careful, talking about a pretty cousin. You're getting a little too bayou there,
as
aren't
soon
you?
as she talked, oh yeah, you were like, oh, whoa, like it wasn't just that she was Cajun, but she was ghetto too, and you could tell.
Okay.
And Mom was like, we're not going to stay here very long because, you know.
Why am I imagining it? You know, it's been popping in my head. This is going to be silly.
A lot of dominoes were played.
Do you remember the movie Without a Paddle?
Yeah.
Do you remember those? It's about these three dudes on this river rafting trip.
Yeah.
And they're going on the route of their buddy that passed.
Yeah.
And they end up finding these like really beautiful tree ladies that, you know, hippie ladies that are living out in the tree.
Yeah.
And do you remember... He's like, you should take your stockings off. And she goes,
so
no. And it's big hair. That's how I imagined
that. That wasn't this girl. That wasn't this girl.
I'm saying her hairy legs were her voice, is what you're saying, her accent or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
just
like,
her demeanor was like frightening almost. Like that girl.
She was ready to fight at any moment.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's my cousin? Or she's like distant cousin.
Yeah.
My mom was like... Yeah. And so we stayed around a little bit.
She'll feed you to the gators too.
Yeah,
you know?
And there was we actually took a little trip to some bayous, and we're swimming in them.
Okay.
And these bayous had little causeways in between them, so you could hop from bayou to bayou. And we hopped the first bayou and swam.
What is a causeway?
It's like a little walkway in between them.
Oh, okay, like a wooden walk. Like
not wooden. It's kind of the ground is built up.
Okay.
And there's little separators, right? And I don't even know what a real causeway is. But you can imagine a big giant body of water, and then a road.
Yeah.
And then another body of water. It's almost like if you just took the road away, it'd just be a huge body of water, right?
Okay.
It was almost like they built up the ground so you could get around.
Yeah.
And so we jumped in the first one, and it was, we swam around in there, and then we jumped in the next one, and then they were like, yeah, we don't want to jump in the next one. I'm like, why not? There's a gator in there. I'm like, why are we in these?
Yeah.
So I say, where's it at? So we kind of climbed
What's keeping
up.
the gator from crawling up on a thing and getting in our...
That's the point. That was my point. And that's what I said. What's keeping the gator from getting... Oh, no, nothing. He just stays there. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
But we
Kenny the gator keeps to himself. What are you talking about? He could come over here and get us. Of course, they probably had some gator taming, it comes over and they go right on the nose and it goes away or something like that.
It scared the crap out of me because we climbed up on the causeway between the one we were swimming in and the gator one.
Yeah.
And we just started looking for a while, and you couldn't really see anything. And then all of a sudden, you see the head pop up, and it wasn't huge. It wasn't, as a kid, I remember it wasn't like a monster alligator.
Sure.
But it was, this big, the head alone.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like,
well, if the head is that big alone,
it's probably a 10-foot gator.
Yeah.
Or maybe not with a tail.
We don't know nothing about
big enough
gators.
to bite you.
I mean, they're all big enough to bite you.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the crap are we doing here, man? You guys are freaking white trash. It's the first time in my life I've ever met people that were more white trash than me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how we saw ourselves. But yeah, they were deep into the trash.
And they were I bet you they were like permatan too, like all leathery skinned
up.
Well,
during the summertime, all of us were.
Sure.
Because we spent the whole summer.
It's not
outside.
like Florida where they're like leathery.
Yeah, you got some people in Florida that need some lotion.
Yeah. Did I tell you when me and Carrie, we went to Orlando on our honeymoon, and then a year later we went again. Right? Because we dug it. And we were on the beach. You do what you do in Orlando, but if you go a couple hours, you can get to Clearwater.
Yeah.
Right? Which is...
There's the water clear?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Because, so we did that both times we were there. We go up to the consigliere, the lady at the hotel, the concierge or whatever.
Okay.
And we go, hey.
That sounds like something a Cajun would say. Consigliere.
No, what I think it sounds like what Zoolander would say.
Yeah.
You Googleizer.
You Googleizer and a consigliere.
Yeah. Anyway, we go talk to the lady. We're like, hey, we're thinking about these 2 beaches.
Yeah.
Where should we go?
Right.
She says, well, if you've got the time, if you've got the rental car, go down to Clearwater.
Okay.
Right? Which also happens to be where the Scientologists have a base there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
That makes it more interesting.
It's kind of cool. But anyway.
Are Scientologists, they're not nudists or anything, are they? Sorry, I couldn't resist.
By the way, if the Sea Org sees this now, me and you are in trouble, dude.
What is it called?
The Sea Org. That's their, like, SS, basically, I think.
Oh, they have their own military, like their own police squad or like
I don't know.
squad?
I was in the background while Carrie was watching the Leah Remini documentary.
Oh, okay.
So I only know, Carrie would know more about it
Leah
than I would.
Remini? Okay, I know you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That Scientology doc. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we go down to Clearwater, and this is the second year we go, and, there's dudes that are basically live on that beach, right? It's real soft sand, real nice water. It was really, really pretty. I'm glad she recommended it to us. We went down there.
Cool.
And it's on this, like, it's you're driving, and then all of a sudden, if you're just following your GPS, you're on this bridge, really thin bridge that leads you out to this little, like, almost island if the bridge wasn't connected to it, and you can see the ocean on either side, kind of deal.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's how
like
a bridge works.
Straight.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about movie. You remember in Mission Impossible 3?
Yeah.
On that big one, the Chesapeake Bay ones? It looks like that, but it's in Florida, right?
Gotcha.
It's all tropical and stuff.
Right.
So we're laying on the beach, and we're hanging out, and these 2 dudes, roll up behind us, and they sit there, and they're those leathery-looking dudes, right?
Couple of leather
and we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden we look, and there's like a crowd forming all around them.
Around the leather dudes.
Yeah, and they're like, go get the lifeguard, right? And we're like sitting there looking like this, and we're like, we should, we pull up our towel and we go move. I think one of the dudes OD'd on the beach. He was getting a little too,
OD'd on some
whatever, dude. Who knows? They said, let's go get high at the beach on whatever,
Right.
Best way to pass a Saturday for those 2 dudes,
and
right?
I guess if a policeman walks up, you could just bury it in the sand or throw it. I mean, it'd be a good place to discard of some drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant bury the guy if he died.
A little tombstone.
Yeah.
On
just
Clearwater Beach.
Just kicking sand on top of him.
Have a little kid dig a hole and just dump him. No, I didn't think that. I thought like if.
Yeah. If you've got some substance that you don't want to, you throw it down there and you kick
and
sand on it.
I shouldn't know this, but from growing up where I grew up, that's one of the first things you do is where you always have a place to get rid of stuff. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you always know your surroundings close enough to get rid of stuff if somebody shows up.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, that was a big sidetrack.
place.
But yeah, these 2 leathery dudes were having some fun on the beach with some substances, and one of them had a little too much. And
were they all wrinkly too, or just really?
Yeah.
They were older dudes.
Yeah.
Because usually, the younger ones are just brown.
Yeah, they look like. You remember that episode of SpongeBob with the seal that gets tanned up? They meet a seal that's all tan, and he sells them tanning lotion.
Yeah, I do.
That's what they look like. That seal.
When you first said that, I thought you were talking about when they're selling chocolate to the guy, and the grandma comes out.
No.
Yeah,
they kind of look like that guy too.
Yeah. Super wrinkly.
I thought when you said seal, you meant seal, like yeah. No. By the way, Seal's been a seal now for that commercial. You remember that?
So we can say that now, can't we?
Yep. Yep. But that's what those dudes look like. They look like that seal from SpongeBob, if anybody's wondering.
Seal has been a seal.
Yeah.
He's the right color, too.
Yeah.
He's really
Do you
dark,
know what would be
isn't he?
funny?
What's
I can't
that?
believe no one's done this. I want to create a stamp
Okay.
that's a seal of approval, and it's just his head on it with an embroidery around it. And you can just stamp your seal of approval on people's documents, and it's just his head smiling. That's $1 million idea right there. We're trademarking that. That is copyrighted.
That reminds me, by the way.
The seal of approval, and it's just his head
When you
on
have
a
a
stamp.
chance. It's just.
Yeah, poof, and it's just his head smiling with that kind of
seal-
embroidery embossing
I know what you're talking about.
around it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me laugh because one time I found a loofah,
Okay.
and on it was
Loofah's already a silly word.
Yeah, it's a loofah, and it had a stamp, like branded into it.
Yeah.
And it was Martin Luther King. It just made me laugh so hard. I made you laugh so hard. But the seal of approval is pretty.
You know what? I bet
good.
you can order pretty cheaply some custom stickers. That's just seal of approval. And
Do you think you can get a call from his attorneys for that kind of thing? I guess if you're not making money off of it.
I mean, if you just go around sticking it on stuff, if it's just a roll of stickers, right?
A roll of seal of approval.
Yeah,
stickers.
imagine sneaking into your office the next day and you see any document whatsoever on
Just
anybody's
put a seal
desk.
of approval
Just put a seal of approval on it.
I don't know. The guys I work with would even know who Seal is. You'd have to do it in the right situation.
Yeah, but as soon as they see his smiling head on there, they'd be like, "I got to learn about
that
this."
dude
Who
doesn't
is this?
smile a lot, though. I've seen a lot of him, and I don't see him smile. And you'd think he would. He was married to that supermodel for a while.
I feel like I can only imagine him smiling.
I need to look at. I'm gonna look it up when we're done. I
Yeah.
need to see a seal of approval.
Yeah.
Dude, I bet you can get 1,000 stickers for $10.
Yeah, and it says seal of approval. And then if there's any room, it could say, "I compare this to a kiss from a rose."
Don't you want to just go into like a Office Depot or something and just look for papers to stick it on?
Yep. That's what I'm saying. If you worked at like a legal office or something, and you started putting seal of approvals on everything, that would be awesome, dude.
I wonder if you should go into. If you went into the right neighborhood, start sticking them on. Brothers would be digging it. That reminds me of the time where I don't think it was you. I think it was the twins. I got some sticky googly eyes.
That's the best.
And we went to Walmart and we just stuck them all over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, somebody from Walmart came around the corner and caught us. And I'm like, we'll stop. And they were like, no, keep doing it. We think it's funny. And it just went crazy. And we took a bunch of pictures of it, like, putting it on diapers, anything that had eyeballs, we were doing it. And at the time, one of the James Bond movies was out.
Yeah.
And we put it on whatever his name is.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. I was going to say Roger Craig.
That was awesome, man.
Dude, it was so funny. And I posted some pictures on social media.
Yeah.
And we had people reaching out to us saying we were over there and we saw him. We laughed so hard.
That's greatness, dude.
But it's just fun. It's silly fun.
Yeah.
But
so
seal of
silly.
approval? Come on, man.
Well, I'm feeling like that would fetch a bunch of money at an Etsy store or something like that. If I started making custom seal of approval stickers and sell it, I feel like that would be
especially if you made it a thing, just started posting stuff everywhere, seal of approval.
Yeah.
And then started taking pictures of it and sending it in.
Yeah.
Okay. We got an idea, don't we?
Yep.
We'll have to get some seal of approvals.
And at the very top of that, we end up meeting seal, which wouldn't you love to meet seal?
Stick it on.
Yeah.
You put it on. Is it okay if I put this on you? Yeah. By the way, I've got a Seal's greatest hits in my car right now.
You tell me that "Kiss from a Rose" isn't even his best song.
No, he's got a bunch of good ones.
Which sounds sacrilegious because that's an amazing song.
No, Seal is a fantastic artist, but all of his songs sound exactly the same, which is good because they're good.
Like an Enya kind of deal.
Yeah. I mean, and they kind of blend together. It's like.
By the way, his cover of "Gonna Fly Like an Eagle."
Yeah. Oh, that's better than the original.
Well, the original is insanely good, but his is.
The original was by a band that came out of Dallas.
Steve Miller Band, right?
Yeah. So you're right. Why did I think that was the artist that got in trouble for whizzing on girls? Who was that?
I know exactly why you think that.
Why did I think that was R. Kelly?
You thought it was R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Because that and a song by R. Kelly were both on the Space Jam soundtrack.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, Fly Like an Eagle by
Kelly.
Seal.
Yeah.
And I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly. Those are both on the Space Jam soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yep. And so you put those together.
That's what I did. I didn't realize it was Seal. That redid
the cover,
that.
right?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I like it better now. I can listen to it. However, I have heard some R. Kelly stuff will pop up in my playlist.
Yeah.
And it's still dang good, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a little tricky to listen to.
It is tricky.
It's like watching any of Bill Cosby's old stuff. It just doesn't feel right, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the nice thing about Diddy, is that he didn't put out enough amazing music for you to like justify.
I always wondered why he was huge because.
Well, he like.
Was he a producer or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
So if you hear a good Diddy song, it probably actually belongs to someone else, and he's produced it or something like that. You know?
Okay. That's why I was like, I don't get why the guy's so revered in the industry.
And he was like best buddies with Biggie Smalls and stuff like that.
I got a suit
Notorious
upstairs, a Sean
B.I.G..
Combs suit upstairs.
Sean John?
Yeah, Sean John suit. I didn't even think about that. I think I wore it yesterday.
You're pulling up to church in a Sean John?
And I spoke from the pulpit in a Sean John suit. I believe I did.
You got a FUBU shirt on underneath?
No, I didn't have a FUBU shirt. Here's what's really crazy. The reason I wore that suit is because it's the most conservative suit I have. It's just a navy blue.
Everything else has got a striping or a pattern or something.
Yeah, everything else is a little, As most of my other clothes have a little bit of a flare to them.
Sure.
And that was just navy blue, and I could dress it up with whatever I wanted to. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a Sean Diddy Combs suit. Yeah. So
check the
that
label
dude,
on
that dude, I will after we're done.
Well, once you make a bunch of money doing one thing, you just start going making money doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
If you got some of his cologne, throw it away.
I mean, yeah.
It's probably slippery.
Yeah. I mean, Shaq has got freaking a gummy bear nowadays, you know?
That's right. He's also got chips, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
He also had a phone for a while, didn't
The
he?
Shaq Berry. Yeah, that was a
911.
Yeah. But I'm saying you make a bunch of money doing one thing,
Yeah.
you gotta
You got to diversify.
and go.
That's kind of
yeah.
how the Kardashians have made all their money, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Don't they?
yeah.
One of their daughters or something has
Then
got.
they hunker down on makeup, and that's just forget about it, dude.
Yeah, there you
start
go.
making money in makeup, it's over.
One of us
dude.
needs to make a lot of money so that we can all
I mean, what do you think we're doing this
climb
for?
on. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure ain't to get to know each other better. Forget that, dude. We're just trying to make money off of this.
It's all this is about. It's
Yeah,
just about the
dude.
cash.
Yeah, please sponsor us.
Because we want to come out with a line of everything.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, you think we're doing this because we're buddies? Get out of here. Yeah.
It's all about the greenbacks.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with
I'm
names
just
for
sick
it.
of working my 9 to 5, dude. I just want this to be.
We all are.
Yeah.
It's the dream, right?
Yeah.
To talk for a living is the dream.
That's
you know.
funny, man.
So
That's
I didn't
funny.
even think about that. I might have to. Now every time I wear that suit, I'm going to be thinking about
Yeah.
the fact that it's a Sean John. Well, I'll go check it. Maybe it's not. But I know I have one because I
That's
got
funny.
it at.
Thrift store or something?
No. This came from just a step up from a thrift store. I think it was Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah.
So I think the whole suit was probably less than $100.
Yeah.
And I think I bought it. I'm pretty sure I bought it for your back to weddings.
You bought it to wear to my
I bought
wedding.
that navy suit for your wedding.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wear it to your wedding, and I think I wore it to Zach's wedding too. It's the only suit I have that's pretty conservative. And for weddings and that kind of stuff, I don't want to be too flashy.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
But did you have something in mind that you thought was interesting about what? I'm trying to think.
No, I haven't been to that many, honest to
Yeah,
goodness.
and not many
You
of
know?
Craig's kids have been married. You know, Craig's.
And I didn't make it around to
Curtis's.
them, you know.
Trying to think. Keith don't have no kids. Crystal. her
Yeah,
son's
and
never
you know,
been married.
I've been to a couple of like my college buddies' weddings and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but nothing really to report there.
I will tell
I
you.
just thought you have so many, you have so much family. I figured there was a lot of wedding stories.
Not
you
a
know?
tremendous amount, which is interesting.
You know what? Here's the reason why. Probably we're not drinking people.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody.
If there were
makes-
open bars at any of the weddings we had been to, there probably would be some.
You know what?
stories.
Now that you say that, there's a. I used to work for a company. It was like a corporate. It was called WorldCom.
Dang, it doesn't get more ambiguously corporate than that.
It was a telecommunications company back in
course
the
it was.
early '90s.
Of course it was.
And it was one of those ones that got caught up in the Enron thing. They were
Okay.
fudging numbers, right?
Okay.
But I'm working for this company
Enron,
called.
help me. Enron, is that
It was a company out of Houston that was
is
reselling.
Enron that guy?
No, not. It wasn't a Ponzi scheme.
Okay.
But it was a
Who's
company.
the guy I'm thinking of?
I can
Madoff,
picture
Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, I can
Bernie
picture him, but I
Madoff.
can't. No, he was a guy who was just lying about investing stuff.
Sure.
So what happened with WorldCom and Enron was the big famous one. So these guys were manipulating. So they had this big corporation, and usually with these big corporations, they get valued by these large Arthur Anderson or KPMG, these large companies
Yeah.
that audit them.
And they get to decide what, you know, they'll value you based on growth rather than profit.
They
or
value
they'll-
you-
whatever
yeah.
makes it look good. They'll
Exactly.
value you based
and
on
they're
that.
such big companies that sometimes they have these auditing companies, these auditing firms, accounting firms, embedded in the company.
Yeah.
And when they do that,
Not a conflict of interest
not
at
at
all.
all. Yeah. And so they were manipulating numbers so that Enron looked like they were basically buying and trading energy.
Okay.
And they hired tons of people, and they were this big giant take over the world kind of company.
Yeah.
Turns out they were losing money, and they were manipulating their. And anyway, it took down their entire company, and a bunch of people lost all their money. And as a matter of fact, Arthur Andersen used to be one of the major accounting firms, and they went down with them because they were so bad. But WorldCom, when I was working for WorldCom, they decided to sponsor a
Prestige International.
Yeah, basically. WorldCom decided to sponsor a big, huge golf tournament.
Okay.
And I want to say the Byron Nelson, because it was in Fort Worth. Byron Nelson was an old golfer in the 50s or 60s or whatever. And he had his own tournament.
Yeah.
And so WorldCom.
The Arnold Palmer and the Byron Nelson, the two sweet teas that you can get at a.
Yeah.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Only Arnold Palmer.
Only Arnold Palmer. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a Byron Nelson too. But he's a big name in golf.
His mix isn't quite as delicious as lemonade and sweet tea, so it didn't really take off.
Yeah, but anyway, they sponsored it, and when I was working for WorldCom, they said, we're going to get you tickets to go in these paddocks where all the golfers were so we could meet the golfers, and we weren't really doing any services.
So it wasn't like a employee golf tournament. Like they were actually sponsoring like
a professional $1 million purse tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're talking like semi-pro college kids and stuff like that.
These are professional.
Okay.
These are the Tiger Woods was, and this was before Tiger Woods hit, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe before.
Yeah. So whoever was in the league of Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods came along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Biggest guys in golf.
Okay.
Were all there, and they had these tents, and you could go in and schmooze, but they also had a bar.
Sure.
And my boss came to me. My boss came to me, and he knew I didn't drink.
Yeah.
And he said, I need your help. I said, what's that? He said, I want you to help me with our team. We had a team of about 10 guys. I want you to help me with our team and make sure none of them make a CLM. I said, you don't want anybody to make a CLM.
A close loss. I don't know.
And I said, what is a CLM? He said, it's a career limiting move.
Oh.
I said, what do you mean? He said, sometimes people drink too much. They'll do something that is a career limiting move. They'll get drunk and because they get out on these.
Say something or do something.
Say something or do something.
And it's on their permanent record, basically.
Yeah. And I said, and the guy's name was Keith.
The boss.
Keith Hatfield, yeah.
Okay.
Young, handsome dude. Yeah, I had so much fun at his expense.
We'll talk about Keith Hatfield in another episode.
Yeah, but I said, hey, that's not really what I do. I'm not going to be telling guys not to drink. I don't do that, right? I don't drink, but I'm also not going to be telling anybody else.
He says that's what you do today.
He tried to get me to do that, and I said, I'm not going to be a part of that. If these guys can't manage their alcohol, then that's an issue for them.
Yeah. More
he
room
says,
for
you
me.
won't do it? I said, well, you want me to do it for you? And he said, no, I won't. I'll manage myself. And I said, well, that's what everybody says.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, well, yeah, maybe you can keep an eye out for me. And I'm like, I don't know, Keith.
Man, you're putting lot of.
Yeah, because I had a wife and a kid, and I was one of the few guys that had a wife and a kid, and kind of this whole team of young guys would come to me for advice on dating and stuff.
I'm guessing all these. It's a bunch of madmen type dudes, you know.
And they were,
yeah.
They were young and making a lot of money, and they were.
I don't know exactly what a stockbroker is, but whatever that is, that's what these guys kind of
were. Yeah, and they were ambitious and driven. It was a sales team.
Yeah.
And all of us did pretty well.
Yeah.
And so these were young guys with a lot of money.
Yeah.
And arrogant and cocky.
Yeah.
Didn't have a wife to check them.
And they would sit and drink beers and go. And I said to him, I can't even fit in there. And they all go, yeah. Okay.
But they were. That's how it started.
We just did that in unison.
Because that's how it starts. But then they get a little cuckoo and start getting.
Yep.
Too far off the deep end and start, because there were a couple times where they would say, we're going to go to the bar after work, and I'm like, I don't drink.
Yeah.
Well, just come and hang out with us. It'll be good for your career. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Because I had Shelly at home. I didn't want to do that.
Sure.
And I had you too. You were there because it was when we were in Cedar Hill. So you were already there too.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a career limiting move. And there were multiple. I went because we were required to be there just to show up for WorldCom. And there were multiple career limiting moves.
Can you remember one that you witnessed?
A dude challenged one of the pros to a one-on-one golf off or something.
Golf off.
I don't know what you call a contest. I don't know what you call one-on-one in golf.
There's no such thing as one-on-one.
I think it's a golf off.
I challenge you to a golf off.
That's what he.
Yeah.
But he was aggressive.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Hey,
I bet you $100.
Yeah.
I get more holes than once.
I played for years. And if it wasn't for this sore shoulder, I would have gone. You know, there's always those guys too.
Yeah. If it wasn't for my bum knee.
My bum knee, I would have been out there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was aggressive and obnoxious. And the golf pro, I wish I could remember the guy's name, but the guy was South African. He was a tall, handsome, dark-haired dude. And he kind of had a look like an Arabic Indian to him. But he was a South African guy.
Okay.
Because I remember that guy, that pro.
Okay.
And he was trying to be patient, and you could tell he just dealt with this before.
Yeah.
And after a while, he's like, this is ending bad. Called security, and he didn't want to go, so security grabbed him and roughed him up. And, yeah.
Serious.
And then Monday, after this is all over, he comes into work like nothing happened because he knows he got arrested. He knows he was trespassed, but he didn't remember what happened, so he came in like nothing happened, you know?
Oh, no.
And Keith Hatley, not Hatfield, Hatley.
And it's essentially Keith Hatley pulls out that dude's record and makes a note, and anybody who ever wants to hire him sees that he...
I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But I don't think he had a CLM stamp he popped on there. Yeah.
Seal of unapproval and a seal frowning.
Now that would be even funnier to have a seal of unapproval.
Yeah. Yeah, seal of disapproval.
Disapproval.
And it's a frowning seal on it. We got our second multi-million. We got 2 products on our new line.
So if you don't like something,
head over to Dad Chats. No, I'm just kidding. That doesn't exist yet. You can get our T-shirt and a seal.
A seal of unapproval, best used if you buy a pie from a grocery store or something and it's just not good.
Yep.
Just go up there and stick them on the other pie. By the way, I'm not promoting that. Don't do that.
That's vandalism kind of.
That would be vigilante justice.
That's a little bit above the Googly-Eyes deal.
I'm for vigilante justice, but not to.
I would imagine that those CLMs are more word of mouth than anything.
I would imagine too. It's probably like the Seinfeld episode where she gets blacklisted on her medical records.
Yeah.
And it's just they're writing notes on her medical records. Yeah.
Yep.
So I imagine that's kind of how it is, but I also imagine that, and there's the saying is there's no commercial where a guy he walks into an office and a guy's got a beard comb over.
Oh yeah.
Remember this?
Yeah, the beard comb over.
And the guy comes in, he says, "Hey, I'm going to have to let you go." And he says, "Is it the beard comb over?" And he says, "Well, it makes me question your decision-making ability."
Yeah.
And so the guy stands up and he's got hot pants on and roller skates too, right? But the whole point is, in the business world, you don't want anybody to have a reason to question your decision-making ability. And that extends in every part of your life.
Yeah.
So if you do something in any situation where they question that, and especially in the corporate world, because that's a label. Have to question your decision-making ability. It never leaves you.
Yeah.
Which I'm not getting work in the corporate world very much.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I had.
And that's probably why weddings are so fun for a lot of people, because no one from corporate is there to witness their career.
And you can act really kooky, and your family doesn't usually disown you for that, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of the whole thing.
Yeah, they're just like, "Hey, Uncle Terry, don't let him get too many."
That's true. I have been to some. I did go with Shelley to a wedding.
Okay.
That was a Catholic wedding.
Okay.
And it started out in a mass. We did a Catholic mass, and it was beautiful. And they had this big giant cathedral, and it was absolutely beautiful, And the bride and groom walked up and did all their stuff, and I'm like, "Dang, this is awesome," And then the party was across the street at an event center, and it was night and day. You're like, the same people that are in this church in this moment are acting a fool and stripping down half naked. And Shelley and I were like, "Ooh, this is wild." And Shelley loved to watch people lose control. And so that
Mom was a people watcher. She enjoyed
and she
that.
did not mind seeing people put themselves in uncomfortable positions. It made her laugh.
That's funny.
Which is why Vegas was so great for her too.
Yeah.
We went to Vegas. And we just sat there and watched people, and it was awesome.
That's
but I hear what you're saying. Sometimes the car wrecks can be the best things there are.
Yeah.
Speaking of car wrecks, and
are you talking car wreck or train wreck? Like
train wreck.
Okay,
train
okay,
wreck,
okay.
Which in a situation where somebody makes a mistake that is, have you ever seen a train wreck at church, or you and your mom?
I've seen some people get up at the pulpit and say some wackadoo stuff.
Because you and your mom were the worst.
Yeah.
Y'all would start giggling.
Yep. I might have said this before. Me and Mom had a little bit of like a giggle connection, I called it, where if I started up or she, getting Mom to laugh at church was like my favorite thing ever, too. Because I knew
she was ready.
I knew I could get her with a look, too. And if she started giggling,
then y'all were lost.
She would do that classic mom thing where she would go, stop, stop, stop.
Right.
But then she couldn't control it.
She was in the middle.
That dude, feeling her go, stop, stop, and then continue to giggle filled me with so much joy, dude. That was my favorite thing in the world.
I remember.
And there were some ladies that said some wild stuff from the pulpit.
The lady that one time said somebody stabbed her in the back and did something wrong, and that was one of the funniest.
We might have to break that out into a separate episode.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
We started on weddings and we got to a seal of approval, which coming soon to our online store.
I think I might look that up.
When we finally do create an online store, that'll be the first thing on there is a roll of seal of approval.
Yeah, we'll have to give a commission to Seal himself.
Yeah.
I guess we would. For using his image, name, and likeness.
Yep.
UIL.
NIL.
NIL.
Yeah, name, image, and likeness. What do you think Seal's real name is?
It's probably Celio.
I was thinking Lucille. Just kidding.
LOOSEAL.
Yeah.
How does Seal spell his name? Loose.
All right, we're going to end on that.
All right.
Cool.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right, bye.